Hello indie game fans, it's a great week of releases both big and small with some heavy hitters in the AAA space, but let me be your guide as always for indies, beginning with a perhaps not so indie title in Enshrouded, coming to us from a good-sized German developer, and is of note since it pretty much seems like Valheim. That survival action RPG did explode in popularity, which has led to its fair share of clones, so I wonder how different this is, with the destructible environments here being of note, as well as the extensive crafting and construction system, and thus look to have the same kind of co-op fun. The roguelite survival city builder has been a growing subgenre on Steam, with the Norse mythology theme Roots of Yggdrasil being another one of note, coming to us from Mana Void Entertainment, who is an indie developer that has managed to find a way to stay in the game, with their offerings spanning quite a number of genres. Taking place in a post-apocalypse or post-Ragnarok world, you are attempting to survive the end of the world by building and expanding your settlement until it reaches the top of the world tree, having meta progression elements that makes subsequent runs easier. This video is brought to you by Technocide, a roguelite vertical shoot-'em-up title that, interestingly, is not a bullet hell title, in which you are escorting your mothership and destroying enemies before they can destroy it. You're battling against an AI that has gone rogue, having to dispatch of its drones before coming face to face with it, where you need to destroy it in order to save human civilization. It has roguelite elements of procedural generation of levels and enemy placement, so that means a fresh experience every run, also having randomized bonuses and upgrades, so there's always something different to check out. The pixel art here is pretty well done, with the weapon feedback shown in this trailer being fantastic, since some of these do really feel very powerful as you take out an entire enemy formation with one shotgun blast-like attack, with it having an overkill mechanic where excess damages causes enemies to explode into shrapnel to cause even more damage. It will also have co-op support so you can play with a friend, so if interested, play the demo on Steam and wishlist the game, and I'll let you in on a secret, the demo will be updated during February's Steam Mix Festival with more content, so look out for that as well. Here's an interesting strategy roguelite-ish title in Heroes of Eternal Quest, one in which you're gathering resources, constructing buildings, and leading a party of heroes as they ascend the Tower of Shards, with each level seeing your hero travelling the map on a loop. Yes, it is of course a loop hero-like, with a different art style and lore, in which the meta progression layer of gathering resources and building up the hub area is compelling and is one of my favourite mechanics in games. There also appears to be semi-active combat since the different hero classes have their own special traits and skills, which looks like an interesting take on the concept. We also have a number of games releasing out of early access, one of which is Phantom Abyss, a first-person platformer with procedurally generated temples in which you play as an adventurer that has to retrieve the secret relics within. Surprisingly, this took almost 2.5 years to complete early access and seems to have faded out of people's memories, so perhaps the 1.0 release will make people remember, in which the asynchronous multiplayer seems to have been a variant of the Battle Royale concept since the game did launch in 2021 after all. Love indie games? Sign up to my newsletter to get a weekly dose of what's hot, along with some news and of course, weekly game giveaways, so if interested, link is in the description below. I did preview Unforetold Witchstone when looking at the upcoming games of January, since this is a classic looking isometric party-based CRPG in the vein of games like Baldur's Gate, but with the critical difference being that it is set in a different high fantasy world. Supposedly, this is a living, dynamic world that will shift and change according to your actions, also giving you multiple ways to tackle any one problem that you may face. BG3 has really thrown the doors wide open for CRPGs, so I'm excited to see what other developers come up with. Smaller games begin with the Prologue demo of Gods Against Machines, who have previously sponsored a video on the channel in which this strategy roguelite is of note since it's RTS adjacent, but not in the sense that you're controlling units, but rather using destructive god powers to destroy your enemies, so if curious, be sure to check this out.
Blameless convict. An innocent victim. A devotion tested against itself.
Another 1.0 release of interest is Graven, self-described as a gritty, action first-person puzzler, but does also have immersive sim elements and action elements as well. You're exploring this dark fantasy world and battling the horrors within, having some interesting ideas, even though it currently sits at mixed reviews. If you're into rhythm games, Hailing from the Abyss looks like an intense one of these, being framed as a combat battler with powerful skills and even consumables that you can use, all with the foundation of a DDR-looking rhythm section that looks intense. Here's another neat looking smaller action platformer in Jett Rider, which according to some of your comments is a re-release of an older title, which I suppose might be due to licensing issues or some business reasons with their previous publisher, so here it is again. Another Prologue demo of interest is Mortal Glory 2, which I showcased in my video on upcoming strategy roguelite. Check out that video for 50 upcoming titles, with the first entry of this roguelike tactics title being great, so check out the sequel as well. I'm not usually a horror game person, but I have to commend the visual quality of Plastomorphosis, since it's a Silent Hill type psychological horror title with fixed camera angles, some really disturbing looking characters and unnatural, unnerving animations, so visually it meets the bar, so let's see about the gameplay.
I'm waiting. Only for you.
An interesting looking dice builder title is Right and Down Dice, since you're rolling dice and slotting it into cards and equipment slots so that you can damage enemies, having an almost board game style presentation to the combat, but also where you can only move right and down in the dungeon exploration phase, so I wonder what implications that will have on your strategy. Here's a curiosity in Rin the Last Child, a dark fairy tale Metroidvania that looks neat, in which your transformed siblings are the bosses in this game and also has an elemental spell system and is your hidden gem of the week.
Hurry!
I'm not quite sure if The Witch's Cauldron is doing something new or just renaming an existing genre, since it self-describes as a narrative roguelite game in which you're making choices to randomly generated events, brewing potions and supplying these to characters, or to use for yourself at critical points in time, looking like a choose-your-own adventure game in the vein of titles like Reigns.
Another town, same people, same troubles and hidden desires. At least they haven't heard about you yet. They will remember what you did. The consequences will soon follow. Fame will not shield you from prying eyes. Good deeds won't go unpunished. Try, then try again. Hone your craft. Think ahead. One day you will cross the wrong people. Or the right one. Find new allies and new enemies. And remember, not every tale has a happy ending.
The top 5 begins with Anomaly Agent, a cyberpunk action platformer that has its share of fans, looking to have sleek and fluid combat as one of the main draws. You play as a special agent who investigates anomalies who threaten the balance of the world, using special weapons, both melee and ranged, in order to dispatch of your enemies. As far as I can tell, this is fairly linear in nature, but apparently your actions can shape how the story unfolds, so there might be branching paths, looking like one of the better action releases of the week. A no-brainer pick if you enjoy roguelites is Go Mecha Ball, a top-down action title in which you play as a creature in a mech that also has the ability to roll up into a ball. That translates to fun-looking traversal and movement, since your speed increases greatly in ball form, and you are also able to use the various ramps around the level. There will be 4 different mechs, 25 destructive tools to use, 20 plus abilities, 50 plus upgrades and more, looking like a fun romp for fans of the genre. If you're an indie developer and have no idea how to start with marketing your game, get on my mailing list via the link in the description below, where I'll send you some free templates and guides soon.
I'm bringing a basket of baked goods to my family.
She's not doing any of the things we told her to do.
We couldn't have been more clear. She's supposed to be enforcing martial law.
Here's an awesome looking narrative adventure puzzle game in Lil Guardsman, in which you play as a 12-year-old suddenly placed in the guard's shed at the castle's gate, having to make decisions on who and what to allow into the castle. Yes, it's 2024, and we have a promising Papers, Please-like, but with a much more aesthetically pleasing look. It is honestly one of the best looking games of the year so far, with the narrative elements looking great, as well as the ability to explore the castle itself in typical adventure game fashion. It might also be somewhat of a miracle release, since this game's publisher, Versus Evil, just got shut down a few weeks ago, so hopefully the developer has managed to sort out the legal issues around that.
The day of the royal wedding approaches, but a change is coming! Will you RSVP for the revolution?
I know you couldn't resist the chance to place an illegal sports bet with the old pal Fredo.
Welcome to Garby's Emporium of Wonder.
I did not slay 90 ballerinas to be denied entry by some freckle-faced babe.
I don't want to be rude, but you seem, well, pretty baked.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait. Your name is Count Heinrich von Pyre?
Yes. Why?
A game which I mentioned in my newsletter a few editions back is the 1.0 release of Oblivion Override, a stylish roguelike platformer that has been chugging along in early access and releases out of it after about 6 months. This has Castlevania inspiration in a so-called Roguevania kind of way, with the action, upgrades and animations here being sleek, in which you play as a robot ninja and dive into an enemy base, having some epic giant boss fights as well. Diablo fans, listen up. Into the Necroville might not look like a typical isometric action RPG, but it follows a lineage of indie pixel art ARPGs like The Slawmancer and Chronicron, in delivering a Diablo-like loot-driven experience in which you play as a condemned criminal named The Stranger, exploring the Necroville and battling the degenerates within, where you will be given the choice of saving or destroying the world. The action looks awesome and intense, with hundreds upon hundreds of items from relics to equipment, so do not sleep on this game. For more upcoming games like Diablo, watch this video to find out.